Hi, in this homework I'm going to go over solving quadratic equations by factorising. So we're going to have a look at two examples. Our first example, we've got this quadratic equation here that's saying x squared plus 8x plus 15 is equal to 0. Now because we're going to solve this by factorising, the first thing I want to do is have a go at factorising that expression on the left hand side. So we're going to try and factorise this. Now thinking back to how we've gone about doing this, because I've got the number 15 here and I'm looking for two numbers that times together to give me that 15, and I've got the 8 here and I'm looking for the two numbers that add together to give me that 8. If I start by writing down some factor pairs of 15, I could have 1 and 15, or I could have 3 and 5, and I'm checking to see whether any of these add together to give me 8, and you might spot that the 3 and the 5 add together to give me the 8. So I'm going to write this in factorised form. We're going to have x plus 3, and we're going to have x plus 5. This quadratic expression and this quadratic expression mean exactly the same thing. They're just written in two different forms. This is now written in factorised form. So I also want this to be equal to 0. So we've now got it in a form where we can solve to find out what x is. So now I've got something times by something is equal to 0. So I know either this or this has got to be equal to 0 in order for this product to work. So if we look at this one first, that's telling me if x plus 3 is equal to 0, in order for this here to be equal to 0, x is going to have to be negative 3. Because negative 3 add 3 gives 0, and 0 times anything is going to give me 0. So that's one of our solutions. Our other solution, well, in order to find our other solution, this bit here would have to be equal to 0. So that means x plus 5 would have to be equal to 0. So x would have to be negative 5. Negative 5 would make this 0, and then 0 times anything is going to give me 0. So I've got my two solutions. X is equal to negative 3 and x is equal to negative 5. Okay, we'll have a look at this second example. So again, I want to start off by factorising. This time I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give me negative 18 but add together to give me negative 7. Now because I've got a negative 18 here, I know that when I write down my factor pairs, one of them is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative. So I could have minus 1 and 18, or I could have 1 and minus 18, or I could have minus 2 and 9, or I could have 2 and minus 9, or I could have minus 3 and 6, or 3 and minus 6. Now these are all the factor pairs, and I'm looking for a pair of numbers that are going to add together to give me negative 7. So these two add together to give me 7, whereas these two here add together to give me negative 7, which is what I want. So factorising, I can say, well, I'm going to have x plus 2 times by, and that's going to be x take away 9 is equal to 0. And we can expand this out to check, and we should find that we get this expression here. Now we want to follow the similar process as before. We've got something times something equals 0, so this bit here, in order for this to be 0, x would have to be equal to negative 2, and in order for this bit here to be 0, x would have to be equal to 9. So our two solutions are going to be x is equal to negative 2 and x is equal to 9. Okay, make sure you've copied down these examples. I'd now like you to have a go at the questions over here. Make sure that you show you're working out as you go.